Hello everybody, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening depending on where you are in this amazing world. My name is Donovan Jolly, and welcome everybody once again for another amazing video of DIY investing. The market has once again taken a dip after the recent news of coronavirus infecting Donald Trump. This is a major catalyst in what I expect to be a lot more downside potential. And so today's video, we're going to be diving through, I'm going to give you guys an all-around update across all of the markets for crypto. We're going to be taking a look at Bitcoin. We're going to be looking at the total market cap of the alts, as well as the total market cap with Bitcoin. And we're also going to be taking a look at the market of gold and the dollar index. All of these are very important charts to be considering because this is going to perfectly explain exactly where the market is headed and how we can go about profiting off of this chaos. Although the world seems to be in shambles, I'm very confident that everything that is happening is merely just playing into the overall shakeout, which is overall going to create an amazing buying opportunity that we can all profit off of long term. If you're new and just finding this channel, always remember to do me a favor by leaving a like, comment, and subscribing to this channel for more updates. Make sure that you guys click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos like the one provided for you here. And always remember, guys, I have the fastest growing and the very best Discord community in crypto. If you guys want to stay updated with all of the rest of the community, want to share your own thoughts, perspectives, as well as charting, make sure you guys join my Discord. Over 17,000 members, and it's free for anybody that wants to join. All you guys got to do is to click inside the description of this video, and there you're going to find the invitation link to my Discord. Now, on the Discord server, I also offer my more exclusive content like the video course and signals. So if you're somebody that wants to follow along with my 20 educational videos, or you'd rather just follow along with all of the trades that I take over this next cycle, make sure you guys stay all the way to the end of this video because I'm going to be taking a couple minutes to explain how you guys can get signed up, the pros of doing so, and what it's going to take to get you guys going today. I also wanted to mention that you guys should definitely check out my free ebook. It's free for anybody that wants to. It's full of a ton of exciting information that's going to teach you guys a little bit into my investing plan, a little bit into how trading works, and you guys are going to get a little bit more of an insight based off of some terminology. And I also have a quiz included in there so you guys can go through, read all the content, and then you can actually quiz yourself on all of the content learned so you guys can fully gain all of the knowledge that I have to offer. So all you guys got to do is to click inside the description. There you're going to find the download link to my ebook. Then you're going to be able to start understanding everything that I'm doing here on a much deeper perspective. Alrighty guys, with all that being said, we got a lot of really exciting stuff to talk about today. I know that you guys are going to find a ton of value out of this. So without further ado, let's jump right into it today. Now, as you guys know, Bitcoin has been selling off. The rest of the markets have been selling off as a whole. And I got a lot of hate for recently talking about how I was bearish. I mentioned how I was shorting the market. And that video specifically was the worst rated video I've ever had on this channel of over 2 years of uploading. It just goes to show how emotional people are. And so for today, before we jump into anything real quick, let's have a quick moment of silence for all of those haters out there that were proven wrong. This is the type of stuff that I was talking about, guys. Anytime this many people are so emotionally invested with the market only going one direction, it just goes to show you how easy it is for the market to change and how easy it is to really get lost in your own emotions. This is why, for me personally, I'm the most unattached from the market direction. You know, if it goes up, that's great. But if it goes down, all I'm doing is merely looking for shorts, and I'm going to be looking to buy the dip. A lot of people are so emotionally invested with the market only going up that the second that you bring up an alternative, they just hate you. They slander you for it. And it's just people like this that really have no idea what they're doing inside of this market. These are the people that are lost, and these are the people that oftentimes like to have the most opinions about what's going on. This is why you guys have to understand that having a strict plan in place before taking trades, understanding that the market can go both directions, this is how you're going to set yourself at a statistical advantage over everybody else. I mentioned how I was opening a lot of shorts. I mentioned how I was bearish over last week. And because of that, you know, the market's finally showing us exactly why I thought that. You know, all of this COVID all of this news with Trump getting COVID, all of the hacks, and also BitMEX, the CEO of BitMEX, Arthur Hayes, has been sued, and there's also a lot of chaos going on with the government trying to actually charge him with fraud. All of this stuff is really major, and it's kind of just playing into the chart itself. The chart spoke first, guys. I was bearish on the chart beforehand, and then we have all of this news that pops up, and that's the thing, guys. News merely follows the direction of price, and so, you know, you could have something like that, and the price could go up, and somehow they would try to flip the news and make it a bullish scenario. But in this case, I was bearish, and then we start to get all this negative news, and then the sentiment starts to drop along with the price. This is the way it goes. This is why it pays to know technical analysis, so we can put ourselves at a strategic advantage over the rest of the market. You know, guys, at the end of the day, I ultimately just want to see you guys profit, and so it kind of hurt me when I saw all that negative comments inside of that video, because at the end of the day, you know, I want to be bullish just as much as you guys. I want nothing more than the market to go up nonstop. But the thing about it, guys, is if I know that the market is looking bearish, I'm not going to hold my tongue. In fact, I'm going to tell you guys, no matter what repercussions come from that. So I just want you guys to understand and know that I genuinely just want to see you profit. That's the goal of this channel. I've already amassed my profits from the last cycle as well as trading in this cycle. I've already been able to do so well for myself, and I want to be able to teach you guys how to fish. I want to be able to show you guys the way to doing all of this, and part of that comes with understanding that the market can go down and it will go down. And so the people that get emotionally invested with the idea that, oh, crypto can only go up, these are the people that really need to check their own emotions, and they need to understand that, yo, you got to have a plan for both sides of the direction, otherwise you're not going to be profitable. So today I wanted to go through, give you guys a ton of analysis with all of the different charts that we're talking about today, because I think every single one of these has a different story to be told. And it's important that we understand that with all of the election year coming up, there's going to be a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of misfortune that's happening regarding the exchanges getting hacked, you know, BitMEX being sued and charged, and then on top of that, we have the President of the United States contracting COVID. All of this stuff is perfectly coinciding at the most pivotal point inside of Bitcoin's market, which in my opinion is obviously going to create a sell-off. When I look at this chart of Bitcoin, I see nothing more than a bearish retest of the previous support. And I've been updating you guys that as follows. I said that we got rejected off here, and this is us bearish continuation as we fall back down to 9K. We are going to at least 9K in my opinion. You know, maybe we bottom at 9K, and then we start the next major impulse back up, or who knows, maybe we get an extended correction, we hit 9K, we bounce back up, and then we fall back down to maybe like 7,000, something approximately like that. This is what I'm going to be watching out for. These are my two strategies for how I'm going to go about profiting. And the thing about it, guys, is it really hinges upon what is the outcome of all of this. You know, if Trump were to actually have some serious repercussions after all of this, obviously speaking, the market is going to price that in, and it's going to go lower because there's going to be a lot more uncertainty. There's going to be a lot more drama overall with the media, and people are going to be scared. People are going to be panic selling, and it's going to be a black swan event very similar to what we saw in COVID. And so we have to be prepared for all of those outcomes. Regardless, my plan and the way I'm going to be trading this is I expect Bitcoin to drop to 9K, and from 9K we're going to get a bounce. After that bounce is where we're going to decide whether we're going to go higher or whether we're going to go lower. And so I'll update you guys as follows when the time comes, but I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page together about this, because I want to see you guys profit. And the only way to profit is to understand that if you see the market going down, there's only two things you can do. A, buy more, or B, short the market and then make some profit to buy more. If you don't have cash on hand, the best thing to do is hold. That's always the thing, guys. I hold the biggest majority of my portfolio long term, but I also take a small amount of that portfolio and I use it for day trading purposes, so I can actually catch the momentum depending on trend changes. You know, I was long the entire way past COVID, and then once we flipped this support and it became resistance, I flipped bearish and I started shorting. This is the way that I personally like to trade. I like to be having a plan for both ways the market can go, because this is what's going to put me at a statistical advantage ahead of the rest of the market. Now, even with my shorts, it's not like I'm going to be outpacing my long-term portfolio by me shorting this stuff. It's merely just a way for me to continue to substitute income so I can continue to buy the dips, because at the end of the day, I'm still very much a long-term bull with this. And that's why I didn't really understand why I got so much hate, was because all I was doing was trying to show you guys what direction I thought the market was going to go. And I wanted to keep you guys safe. And so, whether people are going to hate me for that, it literally doesn't matter. Obviously speaking, I've been able to do very well for myself. And so the outcome of what happens with my views, the outcome of what happens with my like to dislikes, that doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, I know the people that follow me are going to make profit. And that's all that matters. The people that follow me and that make profit, those are the people that I focus on in this channel. It's not about the haters. It's never about any of this negative sentiment, because at the end of the day, this is what's to be expected when people are so emotionally invested in the market only going one direction. There's going to be a ton of haters. I saw the same thing happen at the top of the last cycle when people started taking profits all the way back at 20K, and within that range of the last blow off top, there was a lot of people that were just commenting such negative things about these people, just truly rude comments, inconsiderate things. And this is going to be what's to be expected, guys. Anytime you take an alternative approach to what the majority of the market is saying, you're going to get slandered for it. And this is just the way it goes, guys. The truth seekers are the ones that are oftentimes the most ridiculed. But it's these people that always have one step ahead of the rest of the market. So at the end of the day, we're always one step ahead of the market on this channel. We're going to continue to be one step ahead on this channel, and we're going to go through, and I'm going to show you guys exactly how we can go about doing this in a way that is going to put us at a statistical advantage. Now, first things first, when I look at this chart on the daily, I saw this as a major trend reversal. We had this massive bullish uptrend since COVID, higher highs, higher lows the entire way up. And then after this point, we sold through it, and then this was us rejecting off of that bullish trend. In my opinion, guys, when I look at this chart, I do not see any reason to be bullish. I get that, yeah, it's still higher highs and higher lows, but this itself was a trend reversal. We had this massive bullish uptrend. We're now getting rejected with all of the negative sentiment that's recently come out. This is just furthering my bias as to why we are going to be going lower. So I wanted to give you guys this update, talk about Bitcoin, talk about some of the other coins, because at the end of the day, we need to be safe, we need to be prepared, and we have to understand that there is going to be downside potential here. Now, overall, I just think that we're going to be selling through this level pretty quickly and going back down to about 9K. From here, I do think we'll consolidate for a second, and then we'll get another bounce back up, most likely between 10,500 and 11,000. And then from here, I'm going to be watching to see whether we break higher or whether we go lower. Because at the end of the day, guys, there is always the downside potential that we could have a little bit of an extended correction. Because this was a massive move. This is the first time we've actually corrected after this massive impulse, which was like 200% from low to high. The thing about this, guys, is it could really go either way, and we need to be aware of that because there's so much more uncertainty this bull run than there ever has been. Does that make me feel bearish long term? No, of course not. I think that everything that's going on in the market right now is more or less just going to lead to a lot more upside potential a year from now. I'm still very confident that 2021 is going to be the year of the massive bull run, but we still are in the chop phase until we get to that point. And so from here, we're going to have to watch and see. Overall, this 382 level is going to take us perfectly on support of that 9K area. And then overall, I have one more downside target just in case. That's going to take us back to about the 618, which is about 7,000 to 7,200 approximately, right around that range. Or it would be back to about the yearly support back at January 1st. Of this last year. And so that's the thing we got to understand here, guys. There's a lot of potentials that we have to prepare for, which is why I'm personally going to be keeping cash on deck to buy this next dip that we get. And then if we do manage to fall off for one more low, I will buy that next dip as well. You guys just got to be safe. You got to prepare for all scenarios. If you don't have cash, continue to hold, because at the end of the day, holders are going to outpace the majority of the market with the least amount of effort required. And so that's the most important thing, guys. There's no reason to be super shaken out. Overall, if you would have just held Bitcoin forever, you would have been at so much profit. And it doesn't matter when you get into this thing. As long as you hold, you are willing to invest into the bear market, you're willing to dollar cost average and stick to your long-term plan, you never lose. The only losers are the people that sell. And obviously speaking, you can get stuck buying a lot of scam projects. But with Bitcoin, guys, this is the most stable coin that we have inside the market that's not actually a stable coin. This is the proven coin inside of the market. It's basically like gold. And because of that, we can know what the direction of the market is going to be based off of this one crypto alone. And so we have to be aware of that and plan accordingly. Now, let's dive into the total market cap. This is with Bitcoin. And when I see this, guys, it's just further confirmation that this is a bearish rejection and we will be falling lower. Now, in my opinion, we're going to be at least falling back down to about here, which would be about 286 billion. I think that this is the next logical support level for us to find. And then from here, we're going to decide whether we're going to be bullish. I personally believe that this is just one final dip, the last final shakeout before we do find our bottom. And when I look at charts like the total market cap, this makes me a lot more confident that Bitcoin's actually going to be finding support and going much higher after we hit 9K. Because this chart itself, just to me, looks like we're going to be finding support back down on the previous resistance right before we got that COVID panic, which was, like I said, about $286 billion. That's just the way that I personally look at this. Obviously speaking, we could have the bearish alternative where we hit this level, we bounce, and then we could get another bigger correction that could take us back down to, maybe about 250 to 230 billion, somewhere like around there. And so this is really the strategies that I'm going to be playing out for. Regardless, I still think long-term we're very much bullish, because when I look at this chart, guys, it looks very, very symmetrical to a classic market cycle. This is, and I'll share with you guys the chart right now. This is a chart I go back to time and time again because of how correlated it is with cryptos. Because market cycles happen on all time frames, it happens on every market, but cryptocurrencies are some of the more volatile and emotional markets, and so we see this pattern replicated much more often. And what we can see here is this is just the classic example of a market cycle. You have the big rally, then you have the sharp decline, and then we have this long, slow accumulation, this big rounded bottom, and then we start the next cycle back up. I do believe that we're in the disbelief phase where nobody thinks that we're going to go up. I think a lot of people are expecting that this corona news regarding Donald Trump is actually going to be another black swan event that's going to lead to another massive sell-off like we saw in COVID. Now, if Trump died, yes, I do strongly believe that that would be the case. But, the way the numbers stack up, he has such a high statistical chance of living, and he's also the president of the United States. He has the best healthcare in the entire world. He's going to be okay, and I'm very confident in saying that. If I'm wrong, the markets are going to correct harder, which is why we have to be preparing for both outcomes. There's a lot of factors inside of the overall market right now that we have to consider in order to stay profitable, in order to stay ahead of the curve. Whether you're a Trump supporter or not, it does not matter. If the president of the United States was to die from this right at a major election year, that is going to cause so much uncertainty in the market that we would have another black swan event that would end up like COVID. Now, if he survives, which the statistics show that he has a very high chance of surviving, I strongly believe that this will just be one more sell-off, and we'll know pretty quickly, because generally speaking, the time frame for contracting COVID is you'll see symptoms within 14 days. You can be asymptomatic or you can be symptomatic, and we're just going to have to watch and see what happens. We can take the Boris Johnson approach, where he actually got sent to the ICU, and that was a very trying time. Up to the point everything was positive news. They said he was fine, he was getting over it, and then all of a sudden one day we find out that he's getting sent to the ICU. This is the type of stuff that could be very easily happening inside of this market today. We could see the same type of stuff happen with Trump. Maybe he's asymptomatic, maybe he's symptomatic, maybe it gets really, really bad. We don't know what's going to happen, and because of that, the markets are going to price it in. We're going to get more downside. But depending on what outcome takes place is totally hinged upon what the market is going to do. Maybe we drop down to this support, and that's within the next 10 to 14 days, and then we find out Trump's okay, like he's gotten over it, him and Melania are all right, and then from there we're obviously going to get a nice buyback in the market. And when I look at this, guys, I just see the same type of stuff as a classic market cycle. Capitulation, anger, depression. We get these three lows, and then we get the strong bounce. The exact same thing is happening today. We get capitulation, we get anger, we get depression, and then we get the big bounce. This entire move here is just the disbelief phase of the market. Even though it's kind of drug out a little bit longer, if we just ignore what's happening over here, because, I think it's kind of just obsolete at this point, this is very classic example of the disbelief phase. Anger, or capitulation, anger, depression. Those are the three lows. Capitulation, anger, depression, and then we get the bounce. This is the relief. This is the disbelief phase, which if we look over here, we get two disbelief phases. The disbelief phase is really just the last sell-off before we get the massive bull run, and we can see that it repeats here, because at the end of the day, market cycles are like big waves. They go up, they crash, and then they go up, and they crash, and if we look at Bitcoin's chart throughout all of the history, we can see that this is the case. We have these massive bull runs, these crashes, then we have these big pumps. and then we have these crashes, and then we have these big pumps. And this is just the way that the market behaves. And we can see that this market is really no different, guys. Even though the market structure can look a little bit different, overall it's still following the same trajectory. Even if you break it down by time frames, it's all the same. And so long term, there is still no reason to be bearish. There is literally no reason to be bearish. It's just in the short time frames that I'm actually shorting, and it's with such a small amount of my portfolio that it doesn't even matter that much. It's just a way for me to accumulate more for my long-term bags. And at the end of the day, guys, you know that this channel is dedicated much more to the long-term approach. So I obviously understand why I got so much hate for shorting the market. It's because you guys only ever hear me talk about being bullish, and that's really the first time I've been bearish since I've had this channel. And you know, guys, I just wanted to make sure you guys are aware of that I'm going to be switching directions when the time comes, because I want to keep you guys safe. I'm not going to just lie for views, because at the end of the day, that's not who I am. You know, a lot of people try to make that argument, oh, he's just clickbaiting, oh, he's just this and that. You know, at the end of the day, guys, I just want to reach the biggest majority of people so I can share with you my perspective, because I know that I have put myself at a strategic advantage to outpace the majority of the market, and I want to teach you guys how to do the same thing. You don't have to be an expert analyst. You don't have to be a super good day trader. All you have to do is just basically follow the cycle, and it's so much easier from there. There's no reason to overcomplicate things, guys. This itself is just a big market cycle. We can see the rounded bottom taking place. Even if we get a correction, you know, at the end of the day, that would just perfectly come back down onto support, and then we'd be getting that next major impulse. And so that's what I want to keep you guys updated with. Just because we're selling off doesn't mean the end of the world is here. I personally believe that Donald Trump will be okay, and if he isn't, obviously we'll get another black swan event similar to what we saw with COVID. But that's why we should keep profit on the sidelines. That's why we should keep extra cash. So if we do get that, which is a big if we get that, we are able to actually unload onto the market, because that would be an amazing buying opportunity, guys. I'm still very much bullish on the long-term prospect of cryptos. You know, whether they're correlated to stocks, whether they're correlated to gold, it does not matter, because I do believe that we're going to see a massive bull run. These are deflationary assets in an inflationary economy. You do the math. It's not rocket science. Anybody can figure it out. We know that the more USD they print, the more that these cryptos are going to go up in value. Whether that's real value that actually translates into buying power, we have no idea. But at the end of the day, this is a sure enough hedge against the current failing financial system that I have enough conviction that I'm going to continue to do my part and invest inside of that. And so just be aware of that, guys. Now, if we come over here and take a look at the total market cap for the altcoins, we can see that we're pretty much at the same point. Obviously, we're a little bit more suppressed than the rest of the market. But when I look at this, guys, it's literally just a classic textbook example of the original Bitcoin cycle. And I'll pull it up right here so you guys can see. The Brave New Liquid Index for Bitcoin. Let's go back to the last cycle. Let's remove all these drawing tools. We can see that this is pretty much just a key example of that last Bitcoin cycle. You know, we got the same type of accumulation off the lows, and the only difference here is the fact that we've accumulated for about double the length of time, which I always say to you guys, the longer the accumulation, the bigger the expansion on the upside, which is why, you know, we got to do our part just to accumulate. This is the point where the market's going to be the most fearful. This is the point where everybody's freaking the hell out because of so many different variables that we personally cannot rely upon. And because of that, there's going to be a great buying opportunity, because when the market panics, you have an opportunity to buy that panic up. And so look at this, guys. When I see this, it makes me super, super bullish on the long-term prospect of cryptos, because when I see this, you know, we're pretty much getting that same universal chart pattern of the Bitcoin cycle. This was the last Bitcoin cycle back in 2015. We made this same bottom structure where we had the lows, we hit resistance, and then we just basically consolidated inside of this little range before breaking out. And the exact same thing is happening today, guys. The exact same thing is happening today. And we're just about to get that next major move, which we've already kind of got a little bit of an impulse, but I personally think that this itself is going to once again go a little bit lower. The altcoins, I think, are going to drop to about just under 100 billion. And then from here, this is where we're going to find the bottom, and then we're going to get that dip bought up really quickly. That's personally what I'm going to be watching out for, because at the end of the day, we still have very excellent volume that's coming in here, way more volume in here than we've ever had in the entire market history, which, guys, that's accumulation. That's just a textbook example. There is no reason to be shaken out by any of the stuff that we're seeing. Just because I'm shorting does not mean the world is ending. I'm merely just shorting so I can make more profit to unload into my long-term bags, because I don't believe that we have a lot more time to be doing this. Because if we look at the last cycles, when this thing takes off, it doesn't wait around. We can notice that from the last cycle. We had this long, slow accumulation, very choppy, nothing really happened, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, one day, everything just goes major parabolic. Now, it doesn't have to go exactly as parabolic as the last cycle, but I personally believe it will. We have increased the money supply by 30% since COVID. We have another $2.2 trillion worth of stimulus that's going to be running through the markets fairly soon. And on top of that, we now have more on-ramps for retail investors to unload. We have institutional on-ramps for institutions to accumulate, which they already have. Guys, this is the biggest dynamite explosion. This is fire into the can of gasoline that's connected to a giant train of TNT. I almost said DMT. A giant train of TNT. And the whole thing is going to explode in amazing profits if you choose to buy the dip. And that's the thing, guys. We got to be willing to do that. We got to be willing to ignore all the FUD. And when we see the FUD, we got to understand that the FUD is merely categorized based off of what direction the price is going. Now, obviously, Trump is just one of those black swan events. You can't predict that he was going to get COVID. But, you know, the CEO of BitMEX, Arthur Hayes, getting sued and charged, as well as their company, the KuCoin hack, all of this stuff. Also, Mt. Gox is going to be releasing 140,000 Bitcoin to be dumping on the market. All of this stuff is perfectly coinciding with the already bearish sentiment that I saw in the market. And this is going to be the dip that we get. And we can buy up this dip. Do your part in doing that. Ignore all the FUD, because at the end of the day, guys, this is just classic textbook example of a market cycle. It looks exactly the same as the last cycle. Obviously, the total market cap looks a little bit different, but this altcoin cycle looks exactly the same as early day Bitcoin right here. There is no different here. The only difference is this was 280 days, and the current one we see is over 600 days. This is going to create a massive impulse, and it's probably going to happen instantaneously like we saw in the last one, where out of the nowhere, one day it just booms, and this is what's going to happen. And so if you weren't prepared beforehand, now is the time to get prepared. Now is the time where you really focus in on your trading plan. You ignore the FUD. If you have cash, buy the dip. If you don't have cash, hold on or short the market. That's really your three scenarios here, so just be safe. Now, let's actually dive into the chart of gold, because once again, I'm still bearish. I still think that we're going to get rejected right here, and we are going to fall to $1,800. This is also going to create the sell-off that we're expecting to see inside of the cryptos. If gold sells off, everything's going to sell off, because gold is ultimately the trust stable coin. You know, if gold performs bad, it's because the dollar is performing well, which is surprising to see considering the fact that, you know, there's so much uncertainty, but that's exactly why you would see it. You know, if Trump gets COVID, there's a lot of uncertainty. Maybe he dies, maybe he doesn't. What happens with election year, yada, 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 all of these amazing things. And so there's going to be a lot more weakness in this type of stuff. And there's going to be more interest in the dollar because people are going to be hedging their investments. They're going to think, oh man, too much uncertainty. We could have another black swan event like COVID. I just need to get the heck out of here, hold dollars, because that is what's stable. These are the people that are making a grave mistake, because at the end of the day, guys, this is gold breaking out of all-time highs and retesting the previous all-time high as support. This is a very major catalyst for the cryptocurrency markets, because Bitcoin's always been deemed digital gold, right? Even though it's more correlated to the stock market itself, the fact that gold's going to be breaking out of all-time highs and going into price discovery is going to be a big confidence booster heading into the crypto markets in general. People are going to see gold breaking out. They're going to be like, well, you know, for gold to go from $2,000 to $5,000 per ounce, that's really not even that big of a return, maybe 150%, 200% gains. Whereas, you know, Bitcoin breaking out of its all-time high, it could pull, you know, a 10, 20x. You never really know with these parabolic moves. And so it's going to bring a lot more confidence inside of the cryptocurrency space as a whole, which is why we really have to just pay attention with what's happening with gold. Because in my opinion, gold is really going to dictate a big play here as far as where the story is going to be told. Now, when I see this, we got a nice pump yesterday after the news broke out about Trump. Gold actually pumped really hard, but we're once again still sitting at major resistance. I'm really not bullish about this. I still think that this is going to get rejected, and we are going to fall for one more low. And it's going to take us back down to $1,800 per ounce. And then that would be the finishing move of this correction. This is where we're going to be able to hear all of the resolution between what happens with Trump, what happens with the election, what happens with all of this stuff. And from there, you know, we're going to have a good buying opportunity. Anytime there's uncertainty in the market, anytime there's fear, anytime there's blood in the streets, the best investors always are willing to buy, because that's all that matters, guys. If you are convicted and you are convinced long-term that cryptocurrency is a long-term amazing buy opportunity, opportunity, you think that these markets are going to have another massive bull run, then you should literally not even care what uncertainty happens, how big the correction is, because you should just have your gunpowder waiting on the sidelines to buy that dip. That's the biggest goal here. Buy that dip, ignore the FUD, and I promise that you guys are going to be making significant returns in the way of, when the cycle actually matures and goes back up again. Now, let's go over here and take a look at the US dollar index, because once again, this is pretty much following to my personal trading plan pretty perfectly. When I see this, I noticed that we had this massive bullish divergence that was forming. Man, that looks funky. I don't know what happened there. But we had this massive bullish divergence that was forming. We had lower lows in price, and then we had higher highs on the RSI. And then what ended up happening was we flipped that, we bounced, and now this is us actually retesting the previous resistances as support. I do believe that this is going to hold. This is basically showing that gold is at resistance. We can see that here. This is basically an inverted chart of the US dollar index. Gold's at resistance. It's going to fall lower, and the dollar is on support. I strongly believe that we're going to get one more big impulse that's going to take us upwards of about 95 to just under 96 on the dollar index. And so from here, we're going to get one more impulse. And then after that, I personally believe that this is going to fail, and we're going to go for a lot more downside potential. That's most likely going to take us back down to support of what we had at about, pretty much around the new year of 2018. So about 2 years ago, we had that support level. I personally think that that's where we're going to be heading next. And so there's really no reason to be super shaken out. I personally just believe this is a short-term correction before we get a lot more upside potential and growth in our portfolios. And just as a whole in cryptocurrency, we've got a lot more development than we ever have before. The fundamental use case of crypto is stronger now than it ever has been. And it's not even close, guys. For me, I was here for the last cycle. I remember what it was like back in the early days when you could barely even find a cryptocurrency exchange to connect your bank account to. And pretty much the only people that even used Bitcoin back then were drug dealers or nerds, people that knew how to mine Bitcoin. And now we're finally getting out of that era. 2018, after the cycle topped, that was the first time we had institutions that started jumping into the market. They accumulated that entire dip, and then obviously Bitcoin pumped, and from there they've just been basing and building the support for Bitcoin to go into price discovery. And at the end of the day, guys, it's always going to be retail investors that are going to be FOMO buying and sending Bitcoin into the super hyped cycle, because institutions buy low. They don't buy high. They're not going to be buying Bitcoin after its all-time high. In fact, they're not even buying it now. And I can speak that firsthand because I actually have a friend that knows a guy with a $400 million cryptocurrency hedge fund. And he recently told us about 3 weeks ago to about a month ago that he was going to be selling. This is the first time that he's actually selling, because you guys got to understand that these people, they literally bought Bitcoin at the 200-day moving average, which was $3,200. They bought here. They also bought here during COVID, and so they've got in at the best. They got in at the best place that you possibly could for long-term entries. And so these people specifically, these are the people that are going to be seeing, that the market goes up, but they're going to be selling because they're already in a lot of profit. It's going to be retail investors that are going to be causing the price of this to FOMO much higher. And so we got to be safe. We got to be aware of that. I personally think that the dollar is going to go for one more impulse. Gold's going to sell off and go for one more low. The cryptocurrency markets are once again going to do the same thing. We're going to go for one more low, and we're just going to have to watch and see what happens, how the whole situation with Donald Trump gets resolved. The KuCoin hack, Arthur Hayes and BitMEX. On top of that, we have the Mt. Gox trustee that's going to be selling 140K Bitcoin on the market. All of this stuff personally leads me to believe that we are bearish. That's why I've opened shorts. All my shorts are in profit, so to the people that hated on me, they're going to be the people that are actually more pissed off at the end of this, because they're the ones losing money. We are here and not losing money. We're making money every single day, which is why you guys should definitely check out my signals. If you were a part of the signals, you would have got nailed on all of our shorts. You'd be in a lot of profit, and we are actually waiting for a lot more profit to be had, because I strongly believe that we're going to get that dip. Now, we also have our long-term portfolios. We do a lot of dollar cost averaging. We buy the dips, and we're really just accumulating for that 2021 year. And so it really does pay, guys. You watch this channel, you know how good I am at this stuff, and the people that try and argue against me just need to go back and watch my videos, because that's a mission statement in and of itself. because that's a case study in and of itself. You know, I have tons of videos that have just done nothing but what I said. And that's the thing, guys. You guys really want to get ahead of the market. And the best way to get ahead of the market, if you don't know what you're doing, is to follow somebody that does. And I do on this channel. I dedicate my entire life towards helping you guys profit. I literally do this every single day. I stare at charts all day long, and I dedicate my life to see that you guys profit. And so the best way for you guys to profit is to sign up for my VIP content. You guys are going to get access to my signals. You're going to know exactly what I'm holding, how I'm buying it, and where I'm shorting the market as well, because we play both directions. At the end of the day, I'm here to profit. Nothing more, nothing less. And when you guys sign up for my signals, you're going to be there profiting with me. And so the way you guys can do that is, once again, I have links in the description. You guys can find my website. You guys can sign up for the signals, or you guys can also sign up for my video course. If you'd rather copy along with my 20 educational videos, learn all of my strategies for profiting, once again, you guys can check that out as well. You guys can purchase them together or separate. If you guys can only pick one, I always recommend going with the signals, because you can at least make some profit off of what we're doing in there. And then if you really want to pursue the course, you can take some of that profit that you made and then, you know, buy the course. And so I really recommend you guys check that out. You know, at the very least, I have a free ebook that's also going to be linked into the description of this video. That's going to give you guys a little bit of an understanding as to what I do. You're going to go through, understand how I trade a little bit. You're going to see some of my signals and prior calls. You're also going to learn a lot of terminology. You're going to learn a lot about the emotional psychology and market cycles, so you know how to invest in the market. And so it's a really compact ebook of over 38 pages. I've spent a ton of time in it to really help you guys learn, help you guys grow, and really understand what I do here inside of my VIP content. There's also going to be a little quiz in there, 10-question quiz, that you guys are going to be able to go through, read all the content of the ebook, and then you're going to be able to quiz yourself to figure out exactly if you retained all the information, because I've really spent a lot of time. I know you guys are going to find a ton of value out of that. So make sure you guys sign up. Make sure you guys download the links. They're in the description of this video. You can find my website to either purchase my VIP content, or you can download the ebook for free. Once again, I guarantee you guys, just get the free ebook at the very least. If you don't want to pay for anything, get the ebook. It's going to teach you guys a ton of information. And then from there, you're going to be able to just further understand how I do this inside of the market. And you guys are going to be able to apply the same strategies. So anyways, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you guys inside of my VIP group. At the very least, join the Discord, get in there, congregate with the rest of my community. And with all that being said, guys, I will catch you in the next video. As always, peace out.